Hello, friends. Welcome to the Tuesday night nonfiction book club. So tonight we're going into another episode of Jonathan Hollerman's book, Grid Down, Death of a Nation. We're in the area now where we're talking about thought processes and things, considering a whole bunch of thought exercises. And so this kind of really fits in with an email I got from one of our followers, Theorists. And he said, "Hey, Lee, did you see Pinball Preparedness's video where he talked about how much weight and how much storage space it's going to take for one person to live for 1 year on prepared food?" And I said, yes. And I have been kind of avoiding that subject simply because I think it's so, if I spread that kind of news, how much space and how much weight it's going to take to feed one person for 1 year, that can be taken as a negative, and that would get people to say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get there, so why should I even try? I don't want to do that. I want to encourage people to do what you can, when you can, while you can. And then that way, maybe a group of us can get together and we can help each other to become accomplished, to be successful and help each other survive. And so I want to do things in a positive way. And I think that giving you the bad news about weight and space could be daunting, but I'm also very proud of the fact that I have one of the best group of people following us that there are. So I have a feeling you can handle it. So we're going to tackle that subject this evening about what's it going to take to survive for a year or more. Now, number one, the Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they go back to, I think it's chapter 42, chapter 43-ish of Genesis, where we have the story of the 7 years of famine and the 7 years of feast, or actually it's the other way around, 7 years of peace, 7 years of famine in Egypt. And so they use that as a predictor of they need 7 years worth of food stored up. So we'll get into that as well. Say hello to everybody here, and then we'll take a look at the presentation. Now, of course, the greatest plans of everything. So right before, 2 minutes before going live, you can see my note card here, my subjects and all my things I want to talk about. I spilt that much of my water bottle on everything here. And of course, it's carbonated water. So I had to desugarize everything and take care of it. My prayer card got kind of beat up a little bit. Well, at least it didn't get in the computer. So let me see who all's here. Let me acknowledge that we got, I saw that Scott Hummer was one of the first, Little Lone Prepper, Diana too. Sue Me, good evening. And let me see who else. Cats and Prepping is here. Devil Dog Prepper and the Celtic Grandma. Hello, welcome. And thank you for putting that out, Scott. I appreciate that. Let me see who else. That's pretty much it. We got 10 following right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. I do have, first I'm going to do a slide presentation, basically. Actually, we're going to take a look at some banners that I've created. And then after the banners and after we have those discussions, I've got a couple tabs. I'm going to show you some things on different websites. And hello, Theoxerus, this is all your fault. So I'm going to blame it on you. No. Actually, you're going to get the credit for this. I was telling them about your email, your fantastic email, talking about the amount of weight and the amount of storage space and everything else that's involved with really having a good supply of food. And so I'm giving you the credit for that. That we're broaching a subject that I've avoided for quite a while because until I found out that I had some of the best viewers on, and they won't take it as a total negative, and they won't use an excuse to stop. So we'll get into that. So let's go into the banners here and give you some ideas. So I want to start off with a couple quotes. Number one, the only thing more dangerous than ignorance is arrogance. So people who think they know everything are intolerable. Please don't ever let me be that way. So if I ever come across as being arrogant, please let me know, because I'm here to help you, and you're there to help me. So I learn from you as much, if not more, than you learn from me. So, I think we need to be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because we need to help each other to survive. So remember that the only thing worse than ignorance is arrogance, and please don't ever let me be that way. The second one is, and this goes into what we'll talk about here in another slide later, the Dunning-Kruger effect. But don't listen to the person who thinks they have all the answers. Listen to the person who has all the questions. And that's another Albert Einstein question or quotation. Then we talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. So there's this thing that goes on, that when you don't know that much about a subject, you think you know everything there is to know about it. But the more you learn about the subject, the more questions you have, and the more investigation you get into it. Give you an example. I did a series on nuclear explosions and everything else. So I was an NBC NCO and an NBC officer when I was in the Army. Every unit has people who are specially trained for nuclear warfare, biological warfare, chemical warfare, and how we react to that. And so I've had a lot of training in nuclear, biological, chemical. Now it's called CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. So they've added radiological in there, which could be, like a power plant or something like that. Anything other than a nuclear bomb type explosion. And so I've had an awful lot of training in that. And this guy says, Lee, don't you understand? I mean, and he did 20 minutes worth of videos telling me how stupid I was, that I didn't know anything about it, that so many people died from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which was not true. And then he said, that when you have a nuclear explosion, it creates heavy metals, which is totally not true. That there is no way you can decontaminate water that's been that has nuclear fallout in it. Not true. And he was talking about basically just basic valence chemistry. So sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid, NaOH plus HCl equals H2O plus sodium chloride, NaCl, so salt water. When you mix the two together, that's a chemical reaction. That's not nuclear physics. Okay, so valence chemistry and nuclear physics don't match. But so this guy thought he knew everything there was to know about nuclear radiation and about nuclear fallout and everything else. And just by the way he talked, you knew that he didn't know anything. So the less you know about something, the more you think you know about it. Whereas when you start studying something, you say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Why? And so you start looking into things a little bit more in depth. And so people who have, and it goes back to that Einstein quote, the people who have more questions than they have answers are the people who know a little bit more about it. And those are probably the ones you want to talk to. Okay, so now let's get into some of the things. Number one, we need to take a look at calories. Okay, so how many calories is it going to take to feed a person? So I'm going to use rough numbers here simply because, there are different numbers that we can use. We can, based upon age, based upon physical conditioning, based upon whether they're doing sedentary or strenuous work. But on average, I think you'd be safe if you feel that if you plan for an adult male, 3,000 calories a day, and for an adult female, 2,500 calories per day. I think you're going to be in the ballpark. You'll be safe. Okay. Now, it's not going to be exact, but it's going to be safe and you'll be in the ballpark. So when we take a look at, let me go to these channels here. Prepper Dog, what you got? Stock Up on Bibles. And then Rosary Family Holy Hour, Newsmax, The Race is Far From Over by Nikki Haley. She just lost New Hampshire. And then Divine Will Era. Okay. So now let me get into, I want to share screen, present, share screen, and share screen is easier if you have two monitors. I don't. So I want to go here to, I think this is the one I want, from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And no, this is not the one I want. So let me go back here. What is this one called? This one is called The Survival Mom. There we go. Okay, so I want to share. I want to do this one later. So I want to do present, share screen. I want to do present. Share screen here, and then survival mom. And, got way too many things on my. I think this is going to be it here. Yeah, so here we go. So here's what I want to share with you. Let me get back over here. So this is from, and I'll put the link to this. This is a humongous manual that's available to you for free from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's talking about all the different stuff that you want to have. They are the experts in planning and having food storage. And so, like I said, they plan on 7 years. And let me get in here to the comments real quick, because we got 23 in here, it looks like. Okay. Texas is getting a little too interesting these days from Sue Me. Texas is in my prayers. Thank you. We need it. But it's not just us. It affects the entire country. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. I wanted to let you know. I think the urgency just increased a notch. There was a independent reporter who interviewed a group of people illegally crossing the border in Arizona. And one of them, in an Arabic accent of English, said, "Soon you will find out who I really am." And so there are some channels that are reporting that through some special technology or whatever, they have identified this guy as the head of the Azerbaijani terrorist Islamic group. And so, yeah, so things are kind of hitting a pinnacle here as far as people we're letting across our border, and it appears that we're letting Islamic terrorists into our country, and that's kind of scary. So let me see. Cats and Prepping says she needs a proper inventory. I'm going to show you a little bit of my inventory. I'm not going to show you a bunch of it. Show you a little bit, show you how I do that. So Utah Mike says he stores meat packed in oil, high in calories. That's fantastic. So I guess I missed this from Sumi. Let me see. Sumi says, I need to take a chunk of time and do up a proper inventory and a head count of canning jars. The goal is 1,000, more than 1,000. I sure hope you have the space for it. That's going to be rather difficult. Let me see. So thank you, Scott. Yes, please press the like button. I would greatly appreciate that. Had a spreadsheet with the inventory until we achieved our goal for the 5 of us in 7 years. We have been living off our preps for a year now with treats from the shops 2 days a week. So Hill Summit sounds like they might be LDS if they're planning for 7 years, which is, I tell you what, that is the way to go. I fully support that. I strongly encourage that. Sumi wants an assortment of meats, vegetables, fruits, dairy, and canned MREs. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. Number of meals and calories were the cafeteria. So not all days may have full calorie count. Hunting, fishing, gardening, and more may make up for it. Maybe. Gardening is going to be extremely seasonal unless you can it. Then fishing and hunting, I have a feeling that the people who don't know what they're doing are going to basically eradicate the population of wildlife and fish. And, that's going to be, I don't know. I'm not going to put too much credence in that. I would say, however, if you have the opportunity to raise chickens, goats, and rabbits, do so. Because I think that's where you're going to get a whole bunch of great stuff. Let me see. Roman Catholic. Oh, great. As a matter of fact, I was out today. Been running around. I went to the bookstore and looking for canning information and stuff like that. So I missed the Divine Mercy. So I just finished Divine Mercy about 15 minutes before the broadcast. The LDS list is a bit overwhelming. Theoxera says he doesn't eat or bake that much bread, but a loaf a week is my normal consumption. I'm going to get into that. You're absolutely correct. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I'll show you something. I'll show you another source, and I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. Maybe a little bit more in your particular likes, because it's more in my likes. And I think the two of us think an awful lot as well. Pepper Book Club talks about quail, eating quail. Yes, quail. What is it that flies through here twice a year? And takes 3 of them for me to be happily to eat a meal. Oh gosh. Hi, Diana, too. Welcome. Dove season. Golly. But anyhow, yeah. So wild birds. But and I tell people, when you start talking about wild birds, if you're a perfect shot and you shoot one and you kill one with every time you pull the trigger, and it takes 3 to feed you now, and you got 4 people in your family, that's 12 shotgun rounds per day for one meal for that family. Now you're going to have that for let's call it 14 days, 2 weeks during the flight season in the spring and in the fall when they fly over us. So let's going to say you're going to need somewhere around 160 shotgun shells for each season, and you've only fed your family for 4 weeks. You're going to run out of shotgun shells pretty quick. So unless you reload, unless you have a vast supply of those, the reality of having an endless supply of wildlife to shoot, trap, kill, whatever. And I think trapping, by the way, is going to be a better way to accomplish that than by shooting. But because you can renew a trap, you can always reset a trap. But anyhow, that's just random ideas. Let me get here. Smaller pigs. Hey, yes, absolutely. Let me see. Home canned jars are heavier than store-bought, according to Little Lone Prepper. And Sumi says she frequently cans. It isn't easy to adopt. Hence, start living the lifestyle before HTF. Once it's imposed on us, it will be a culture lifestyle shock. You are absolutely correct. You can raise quail. I've looked at goats. Way too much for me to chase down. I did not know that. I'd have to check into that. Okay, let's go back to the banners here. And but I want to go over this bare minimum here and talk about it. So let me see if I can't find that page here on. Yeah, I'm sharing this. Nope, I'm not sharing this. Gosh, where am I? There I am. Okay, so according to the LDS, this is for one person, one meal, 2,300 calories per day, which is a bare minimum. You're going to need 400 pounds of grains, 90 pounds of beans and legumes, 75 pounds of milk and dairy products, 20 pounds of meats and meat substitutes, 20 pounds of fats and oils, 60 pounds of sugars, 90 pounds of fruits and vegetables, and various other things. So now then, so it says, do you really have a year's supply? So it starts talking here about 400 pounds of grains is you're only getting 17.5 ounces per day. 60 pounds of beans, you're getting 2.6 ounces per day. So, I mean, these are bare minimums. So then we say, just how much is this? So if you take their recommendation and you store everything in number 10 cans, and that's these cans, this size can, okay, basically a 3-pound coffee can. For wheat, rice, corn, you're going to need 64 cans or 10 and a half cases per person. So there's 2 of us, so that's 128 cans. Pasta, you're going to need 32 cans for one person, 64 for 2. Rolled oats, you're going to need 124 cans for one person. Beans, 13 number 10 cans per person. Daily food, so this is not much food. And then it goes through a whole bunch of additional things it recommends that you acquire. So, that's from the LDS. Okay. Now, there is another one I want to share with you. So let me get back here, and I'll have this link in there as well. So present, share screen. And this is going to be, I don't want that one. Yeah, I think this is the one I want. No, let me see. This is the one I want. So first off, let's take a look at this right here. So this is beans and bread that was made from that article we just read from the LDS, the Latter-day Saints. So if you follow their guidance on how much grains and everything else, and beans and legumes and all that kinds of stuff, this right here is basically what you're going to be eating 3 meals a day. So you got a little bitty loaf of bread here that's barely 3 inches long, 1 inch high, 1 inch, 2 inches wide, and then a little half a cup of beans. Okay. So, they're saying, hey, you're going to need more than that. So this article says, you're going to need a lot more stuff. And it talks about some of the things that they want you to get into. And that's what we're going to talk about here is what are some of the other things you need to consider for your preparations for SHTF. So, okay. So, let me get down here. Wow, you guys are talking tonight. So I don't figure it out. What happened is those are the recommendations that are made by the LDS. We're using those guidelines. And so what they're doing is they're doing servings, okay? So let's say that a serving of meat is a 1/4 pound of meat, but you only need 1 serving of meat every week. So then you can take 1/4 pound of meat times 52 weeks. So 1/4 of 52 is 26 divided by 2 is 13. So you're going to need 13 pounds of meat, basically is what they're saying, okay? So that's how they come up with the weight. The same thing, when you take a look at a can of flour, a number 10 can of flour, we can easily measure that, and they do it. It's right on the label. So, you put in enough flour in a number 10 can, and it ends up being 6.5 pounds. So, that's how they come up with the weights. And so they can easily change over between cups, servings, things like that, to come up with the weights. So yeah, and calories is what you got to really focus on. Just over a ton of pasta, more rice than Chinese restaurant supplier, and enough beans to live play the blazing house scene for a year. All right, that's fantastic. Let me see. 1 can of corned beef is 760 calories. Yeah. So you're looking at it right, Utah Mike. That's exactly how you want to look at that. And let's take a look at some of these others. So let me get here and let's go down. So the LDS recommends 500 pounds of wheat per person, 100 pounds of sugar, 40 pounds of powdered milk, 12 pounds of salt. No, I'm sorry, this is the alternative to the LDS. So they recommend 500 pounds of wheat. This is for 2 people. I'm sorry. This is for 2 people, and it provides 2,000 calories per person per day. Okay. So you may need a little bit more. Remember, we said about 3,000 to 3,500 for a male, an adult male. If they're going to be doing strenuous work, a little bit more, maybe up to 3,750. Okay. And that's just to maintain existing weight. Okay. And then 100 pounds of sugar, 40 pounds of powdered milk, 12 pounds of salt, 10 pounds of honey, 5 pounds of peanut butter, 45 cans of tomato soup, 45 cans of cream of mushroom soup, 24 cans of tuna, 15 cans of cream of chicken soup, 24 boxes of macaroni and cheese. Now, if you take a look at it, if you've got 24 cans or boxes of macaroni and cheese, that's basically 1 serving of macaroni and cheese every 2 weeks. So, start putting these kind of in your mind on a calendar. 26 boxes of macaroni and cheese is exactly one serving of macaroni and cheese every 2 weeks. Okay. So, start thinking about these things. Like, how am I going to use that? 6 pounds of yeast so you can make your breads, or baking soda, or is it baking powder? I always get the 2 confused. 6 pounds of shortening, 12 pounds of macaroni. And so that's what they recommend that you add to it. Here's Lee's recommendations that I'm going to add to that I think you should consider, okay? These are only considerations. I'm not saying I'm doing it the right way. I'm just saying this is the way I'm doing it. I'm presenting it for your choice to say, hey, that's a good idea, or Lee, that sucks. I'm not going to do that. Especially some of these things you may not like eating. So I have 12 jars of Tang. Tang is the drink that they made back in the 60s to supply all the vitamins and minerals and everything else for the astronauts while they were out in space. So I'm going to use it as a form of providing minerals and vitamins and everything else in a post-apocalyptic world. I think I have 12 bottles of spaghetti sauce. And now I have a whole bunch of Thrive Life spaghetti, tomato sauce, tomato, freeze-dried tomato sauce, yeah. And so I can do more than that. But with 12 bottles of spaghetti sauce, that means I can make one pot of spaghetti per month, okay? And with that, I'm going to need 24 pounds of pasta. I have 24 cans of chili. That's 2 cans per month. Now, the chili can be mixed with rice. And so that, along with 24 cans of chicken a la king, probably what I should do is up that to 26, so it's just every other week, whereas this is twice a month. And then mix that with rice. And that's basically, now we've covered 2 meals in every 2 weeks. So we've got 1 meal every week covered right now. 12 number 3-pound cans of coffee, or freeze-dried coffee might be your preference. 6 of the large number 10 cans of hot chocolate. I like Swiss Miss. 12 20-ounce cans of beef stew, and that's Dinty Moore. I'll talk about that here in a little bit more. 48 pounds of rice, 52 cans of fruit cocktail, 52 cans of peaches. Now that's going to give you 1 serving of each of these fruits per week. So I've got 4 different fruits. So you're looking at basically half your week, you're going to have some fruits. 52 cans of pears, and then 52 cans of oranges. I will tell you, in the 40 years that I've been doing this, the only thing that I have ever had explode in my pantry, and I didn't recycle it or what do you call it? Rotate. I didn't rotate it as I should. It was in a case, and I had 2 cases, and I'm calling it a case. It was a box of 4 cans. I had 2 of those that exploded, and they were both mandarin oranges. So be very careful. The mandarin, I've had bad luck with the mandarin oranges. And then an assortment of freeze-dried meat, dairy, and fruits. So that's kind of my suggestions. Now let's go into some of the realities here. Buy your tuna packaged in oil. If you do that, you can also use it as an emergency candle, by the way. So Tang and Gatorade, absolutely great idea. Make sourdough starter, perfect. I do have 2 sourdough starter kits just waiting to go. 100% vitamins, powdered drink mixes, spices, and sauces, absolutely. Tea and instant freeze-dried coffee. Now remember, freeze-dried instant coffee will last longer than will the canned ground coffee, okay? I have noticed some of my canned ground coffee, I'm not buying any to replace it yet until I go through this. The 3 and 4-year-old cans just don't taste the same as the newer ones. So I'm instead of replacing those 3-pound cans of coffee, I'm waiting until I get down to 1 case left. And right now, when I'm purchasing, I think you've seen it in my last couple pantry hauls, I'm replacing it with freeze-dried. Freeze-dried or instant coffee is another way of looking at that. Gatorade, probably mentioned this before. The big cans are expensive, so when I find my flavor, the grocery bill jumps up fast. Yes, Helen is stuck on Powerade grape sugar-free. So that's what we get for her. All these recommendations are great. I'm sure they are valid for and then it dropped off. I have not had good luck with my sourdough starters. They always get nasty after a month or 2. And I think the reason for that for the Oxyrus is because they have to be constantly used. So I think the ideal thing is that you need to pull out, enough to make a loaf probably about every 3 to 4 days. I'm not an expert. This is secondhand information from what I've read. I've done a lot of research on it because I plan on doing this. I do have some yeast frozen in the freezer out in the garage, but I do realize that my yeast supply is going to be gone in a short while. Oh, wow. And I've heard that. I have heard that tomatoes for most people, are the ones that have the greatest, the acidity in them causes them to give people the greatest amount of heartache and storage. So I can understand where you're coming from, Sumi. Everything I've read says that you are spot on. That's exactly right. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about some ideas you can use. Let's first go into my experience during the Vietnam War era, and that was, so we have A, B, and C rations in the military. So an A ration is basically cooked in, and I'm going to use Army terminology, the mess hall, and you eat it in the mess hall. So the Air Force would call it a dining facility. Navy and Marine Corps call it a galley. Some people call it a chow hall as well. So if it's cooked where you eat it right there, and it's comfy, and you have chairs and table and everything else, that is a Class A meal. A Class B meal is it's cooked in a field kitchen or in a mess hall, then delivered to the troops, and they eat it with their mess kits in the field. So they're going to take Mermite cans, which are basically big ice cold chests or warm chests, and they have these 3 inserts on the inside. So like you might have Salisbury steak in one, mashed potatoes in the second one, and then gravy in the third. So throw a Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes on your mess kit, and then they'll throw gravy over top of it. You might get peas or something like that. And so that's a Class B meal, prepared in a field kitchen or a mess hall, eaten in the field. Then a Class C meal, or C-RAT, is anything that is prepared and canned, and you have to prepare it, worm it, whatever, and eat it in the field with or without a mess kit. So C rations are basically combat rations, okay? Another way to look at it. So I want to kind of go through, let me catch up with scenarios. I don't think these messages, one can be stable in case of feeding and discarding the stour. Yes, so that's what I've heard. That's thank you for that. Let me see. Oh, it sounds like my book I ordered for tonight has finally arrived. I ordered a book on canning and everything. See if I could. I was hoping I'd be able to read it, a little bit of it before tonight, but that was Amazon delivering it at my door as we speak. Yeah, I haven't had any problems with tomatoes either. I have with the mandarin oranges, but not with tomatoes. So if we take a look at what I ate during the Vietnam era, okay, so that's what this note card was. I looked up all the different menus that they had. So they had beefsteak, they had chicken loaf. Well, you know what chicken loaf is? Chicken loaf is this, okay? And then we had chopped ham and eggs. Try to avoid that with like all get out. We had ham slices, and ham slices is this, okay? We had tuna, and now I'll give you a secret. Tuna was a slightly different colored box. So when the first sergeant came, there were 12 boxes inside a case. He would open the top, flip it over so you couldn't read what the title was of the meal that you were getting. And we got 2 of these, 2 C rations and 1 B ration a day. And they'd lift the box up and you could pick the meal you wanted. Tuna was a slightly different color than all the other meals. So I can't tell you how many times I went for weeks eating nothing but tuna. But anyhow, so, you know, that's this. So a can of tuna, and then the other stuff that they had with it. Beans and meat chunks, or beans and weenies, beanie weenies. So that's this, right? Let me see. Ham and lima beans. That's this. So beef slices and potatoes, or what we lovingly called beef and boulders, is this. Okay, and then let me see. Spaghetti and meatballs in tomato sauce is this, and it's even the same size can. So if you take a look at it, a lot of the stuff you can get on the shelves at your grocery store are basically what we ate in combat situations in the Army up until 1975, when they came out with the first replacement for the C rations, or what we called the C rations. And now they call the newer ones the MREs. And I think we're on version 3 now. So let's take a look at version 3 of the MREs. So this is a new one. When I go to the commissary at either down south in San Antonio or up to Fort Hood, I usually try to pick up 2 or 3 of these. Now, these cost in the commissary about $13 a package. Okay, so this one happens to be a beef patty. As a matter of fact, that was the very first one I ate. Was a freeze-dried beef patty when they first came out in 1975. So that was my very first meal in the MRE. So this is basically, and I got this one at the commissary. So what I want to do is I want to give you a cost analysis, okay, of what that is. And I think I lost my paperwork because of spilling my drink, but let me see. It should be, there it is. Okay. So for that same $13, where you can get one of these. Now, this is a total thing. I mean, it's got toilet paper, it's got hand wipes, it's got a little bottle of Tabasco sauce, it's got gum, it's got a dental kit. It's a complete kit. I will tell you that much. But on the other hand, if we're just looking at food, then for that same $1 more, $14.14, I can get 2 pounds of rice, 1 can of chili, 1 can of fruit cocktail, 7 packets, that's individual servings, of coffee, 7 packets of sugar, 7 packets of creamer, 7 packets of cocoa, 4 packets of jam, and 4 pilot crackers. And that comes to $14.14. That's enough to feed 4 people one meal. Okay. So for the same price of this, for one person, I can get 4 people fed one meal if I just take the time to do it myself instead of buying it prepackaged. Okay. So I want to encourage you to take a look at, planning your own meals and saying, how can I make my money go and provide me the greatest amount of food so that I can last longer than anything else? Okay. Now, so there are some other alternatives. Okay. Thrive Life, and I am a distributor. I've been a distributor with Thrive Life now since 2009. So 14 years I've been a distributor with them. They have these meals. So this is basically the same thing. Then another great company, Nutrient Survival, has what they call NREs, Nutrition Ready to Eat, which is a full meal for one person. And so you've got all these opportunities to get these great things from companies if you want to buy it pre-made. But like I showed you, this is the equivalent. You can get it at your grocery store and save a lot of money. Let me catch up with chat. Gosh, you guys are doing a great job in chat. Let me see. Okay, so coffee drinking. I tell you, I've got one corner of the room with nothing but freeze-dried and canned coffee. After freeze-dried, the next longest one is unground beans. So if you buy it by beans and vacuum packed, then then you grind them yourself. That's going to last second longest. So number one is going to be freeze-dried. Or powdered or instant coffee, you can call it that. Second is going to be beans that you grind yourself that are already been roasted. And then third is going to be the canned drip coffee. So potatoes are rotten in some of the MREs yet. I haven't experienced that yet, but I tell you, there are times when you are so happy out in the field when you get an MRE. We can complain about it all we want to, but the fact of the matter is, when you're hungry and it's freezing and you've got a warm meal, you're very happy. Yes, and Little and Prepper, they aren't glamorous. Well, you're quite welcome. Let me see. Catch up here. Oh, wow, Utah Mike, I'm jealous. I would love to have one. The Jetboil does have a heat sensor on it that activates a USB charger. So you can cook and recharge a cell phone or you can recharge a USB chargeable flashlight, a USB chargeable radio. You can do it while you're cooking. You can recharge all kinds of things. I am so jealous, Utah Mike. I would love to have one of those, but it's a little bit cost prohibitive for me. You see. I tried roasting my own green coffee beans, but decided the odor and results were not worth it. Absolutely. My apartment, when I was teaching at Goodfellow Air Force Base in 1981 to 1984, my apartment was like 3 blocks from a coffee company. And when they roasted beans, I tell you what, I wanted to move so bad. It was pitiful. Hello, Teresa. Welcome. Glad to see you. Okay, so now let's get into some other things here. Well, let's go. Let me share my inventory, 1 or 2 pages of my inventory. And I'm not doing this to brag. I just want to give you some ideas on some things you might want to consider, and some things that you can take a look at doing. Um, get down here, my in-phase Outlook, mail. Is it not going to let me do it? It's not going to let me show my, come on. Okay, cancel. And I'm going to present. Slides. My computer. No, it's not going to let me show you. But anyhow, so I have, let me kind of get to it so I can kind of explain it while I'm doing this. So open up my Excel file. There we go. So for example, I start off, my very first tab is bakery, then dairy, then entrees. So entrees are things that are a complete meal in and of themselves. Okay, I'll show you a couple examples of that. Then fruit, meat, miscellaneous, nutrient survival has its own page. Pasta, protein, sauces, soups, vegetables, what's this? Dog food, and then spices and herbs. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So those are my different categories of tabs that I have for all of my stuff. Now, the first tab is going to have what the product is, and then the next tab is going to be who the manufacturer is, because these are all my freeze-dried products, okay? And then the next one's going to be the size, and then the next one's going to be how many servings are there for that one, whatever, whether it's a packet, number 2.5, or what we call a pantry can in Thrive Life, or a number 10 can. So let me get to an example here. Let's go to, what would be a good example? Oh, I know where, dairy. Let's go to dairy. So dairy, for example, a pantry can of cheese blend has 30 servings per can. Number 10 can of cheese blend has 102 servings per can. So then the next column after that is how many cans do I have, and then what's the total number? Then, for example, here on my dairy page, what I'm looking at now, I have 2,318 servings of butter. So I divide that by 365, and then I have highlighted and bolded how many serving years do I have. So I have 6.35 serving years. If I use 1 serving of butter per day, then that's what I have. Now, I have to divide that again by the number of people. So there's 2 of us going to be eating it. So 6.35 divided by 2 people is 3 years, 3.175 years of butter. Cheddar cheese, I have 0.88 years for 1 person, 0.44 years for 2 people, 1 serving a day. Cheese blend. Now, here's where cheese blend comes in important. The freeze-dried cheese blend can be used to mix with the canned macaroni, or any macaroni that you've sealed yourself and stored, and you can use that to make macaroni and cheese. So I have 1.18 person years of cheese blend, which for 2 people means that we could have 0.6 years of 1 meal of macaroni and cheese per day. I have 5.13 years of powdered milk, which is basically 2.5 years with 2 people. You kind of get the idea, okay? So that I kind of wanted to show you that, how I keep that on a spreadsheet. So it's very easy to do it. Now, originally, where is my, oh, here it is. So originally, when I first started with LDS, I took one of their purchase sheets, okay? And so I kept a pencil copy of how many cans of each do I have over here, and I could erase that and move it. Now, the red numbers you see over here is what they recommend for the minimums, and then here, that's how many cans I need and how many cases I need. So I can take a look at this number, how many I have in stock. So the very first one is apple slices. I need 90 cans. I have 14. I don't even, so I'm really short on apple slices. But I get most of my most of my fruits from other places as well. I also get, pineapple, peach, freeze-dried, cherries, grapes, and everything from Thrive Life. I've gotten a whole bunch from Algerson Farms. Let me see. Okay, so some of the other things I wanted to show you. Let me see. There are other suppliers that are phenomenal. I really like them. This company, just until recently, did not sell to the public. They primarily sold to the military. So this is what, if you're on an aircraft carrier or you're on a submarine in the Navy, this is what they're going to give you. So you're going to have this, and then it's rehydrated and served to you just like a fantastic meal. So this company, as a matter of fact, I was just on Canadian Prepper's channel. He's got a link where I think he's getting 15% off if you go to his link on freeze-dried meatballs, all kinds of stuff. He's giving an example on tonight's of steaks. I think it's ribeyes. But let me see. I saw a question here. Yeah, and Sandy, if you paid attention, well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say it that way. That would not be a nice way to say it. My prepper pantry haul for last Saturday, I went to the LDS store and got another package of their 20-year shelf life milk. So in what form is the cheese? Sue me yes. So typically the number 2.5 or a number 10 can of cheese is going to be shredded. And so what you do to rehydrate that is I put it into a glass jar, and then I will mist it with a spray mister, close it, and just tumble it. Okay. You don't need that much water to rehydrate cheese. You don't want to drown it. Just a little bit of a mist inside of it, rotate it, and you've got good cheese. Canned fruits are great. Mixed fruits have shown to be the most versatile. I like a lot of the mixed vegetables, and I'll show you those here in just a minute. I ordered a couple cans of the Bega canned cheese. I have not yet tried it. I think I might have 2 or 3 cans of it. It is a little bit on the expensive side. I think that's an Australian product, if I'm not mistaken. But okay, some of the other things you might want to consider, okay, besides just the stuff as far as the components. Algerson Farms, fantastic organization. I love their stuff. You're going to see that I have a lot of their stuff. Rainy Day Foods is another one. You're going to see that I have a lot of their products. They have a couple soup bases that are just phenomenal. Vegetable soup, alphabet soup. Then they separate between the two. Bean soup. They have a lot of great products. So Rainy Day Foods, Algerson Foods. Thrive Life, of course. Freeze-dried warehouse. There are a couple of new ones. Shelf to Table is a fantastic company. I've really enjoyed their products. But anyhow, I want to show you some of the other things. Mountain House was one of the first, and really like their products. So another one you might want to consider is Algerson Farms has a chili mix. Now, this does not have any meat in it. So I would get I've got a can of chili mix, and I've got a number 10 can of ground beef crumbles. Mix the two together, and you've got a lot of good chili. This can serves, let me see, how many servings? This can has 34 servings of chili, okay, when you reconstitute it. Then another good one is, and this is also another Algerson Farms, this one is 40 servings of vegetable stew. So you just mix 1 cup of water and a 1/4 cup of stew blend. No, I'm sorry. To make 1 cup of stew, you need 1/4 cup of stew blend and 1 cup of water. and hot water. And this will give you 1 cup of vegetable stew. And then you can add to it or enhance it or do anything you want to make that a little bit better. So like I said, this 1 can is now going to give you 40 meals. Okay. Use them as you need them. Bear Creek soup mixes, Sandy, I can't tell you how much I enjoy them, how much I count on them. I've got at least 3 5-gallon buckets sealed with nothing but Bear Creek soups in them. I think they're going to be the foundation of sharing basically a soup kitchen with my neighbors in a post-apocalyptic world. So, that's going to be it. Hill Summit Homestead, you are so spot on, and that's why I'm trying to offer alternatives. Here's how Lee's mathematics works. I have 5 years until SHTF, okay, and I'm buying something weekly, and my weekly budget is $25 a week, okay. So if I've got 5 years and I've got 260 weeks at $5, $10 a week, let's call it $10 so I can do easy math. Now I've got $200 or $2,600 I'm going to spend on food. Okay. So, and that's what I need to survive. Well, if all of a sudden that 5 years out gets condensed down to 2 years out, all of a sudden one of 2 things has to happen. Either I get less food or I spend more money. Okay. So to make that equation work, if you shorten the timeline, one of 2 things. You're either going to have a smaller amount of food or you got to invest more money into that timeline to get the same outcome at the end of quantities of food. So you're absolutely correct. You got to work on what is the best affordability for you. And that's what I'm hoping to show is that, for example, instead of this for 1 meal, you can do it yourself with the chicken a la king, the chili, the rice, the cans of fruit. For the same cost, you can feed 4 people 2 meals. So 8 meals for 14 versus 1 meal for 13. So I think it's important that everybody survive. And, so get what you can afford, but I'm just trying to give you some ideas on some things you might want to do. Bear Creek Soups is a great mix. Usually those are going to be less than $4 and they're going to serve 8. Okay. And you can add enhancements to it. I've done some videos on, for example, the chicken noodle soup. Well, what happens if you add some mixed vegetables in there? What happens if you add more noodles in there? What happens if you add in some chicken bouillon? What happens if you add in a can of that's tuna? What happens if you throw a can or 2 of chicken into that Bear Creek chicken noodle soup? Now you've got a really substantial meal at a very inexpensive price. And that's what I really want to share with y'all. Let me see. Storage location is extremely important. You want it to be as consistent, stable of a temperature as possible. You don't want dramatic temperature extremes. You definitely don't want them to get hot. If anything, you're going to let them get cold, not hot. Heat and light are the 2 enemies of food storage. So the darker you can keep where you have your storage, the better off you're going to be. If you can keep it consistently, relatively cool, somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees is ideal. Then that's going to be your best storage location for your food. Now, I have 1 room that I've taken over. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in the laundry room, and then I've got some stuff under the bed in the bedroom. Helen says I can't have any more room. So as a matter of fact, I put a 2 shelf, actually it's 3 shelves, bottom, middle, and top. So there are 3 shelves, one of those plastic things. And I was moving in my candles into our bedroom because I want to keep them at a constant temperature too, so that I could use the space I had in my room for the candles for food. Well, she said, that's not cutting it. You're getting rid of that white, that junk will not be visible in our bedroom. So that's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, because that's exactly how we are. So let me see. Utah Mike says he uses the veg stew weekly and he adds it to his rotisserie chicken and stock. Fantastic stuff. The Bear Creek chili is good. Absolutely. Add a can ground beef and a can of red bean. Great idea. Absolutely. You can also get chili beans for like 88 cents a can at Walmart. I've got a whole stash of those as well. I'm sure I can't, but I can imagine. I know what we had to pay when we had stuff brought into Germany when I was overseas. So we don't have Keystone at the Walmart. The other thing is I've been trying to find, oh gosh, what's the name of it? Yoder's canned bacon. Used to be able to find it. I can't find Yoder's canned bacon anymore. I don't know what's happened to it. But yeah, I do this through Amazon. I get 1 can of Keystone ground beef, and that's the 14.5-ounce can, which is basically this size, not the double this size, but because they got 2 different cans. They've got a 14.5 and a 20-ounce can. I get the smaller one of ground beef and of turkey every month delivered. So I've got, and the reason is because the ground beef you get that's freeze dried from any of the freeze dried companies is crumbly. And so when you rehydrate it, it really doesn't stick together. So you can't make patties and you can't make a meatloaf or anything like that. Whereas the wet beef that you get from Keystone, you can make into patties and you can make into meatloafs and things like that. So one of my favorite things is Salisbury steak. And so I've got to have, as a matter of fact, I ordered some Salisbury steaks from freeze-dried. Well, not for us. They're not Salisbury steaks. They're hamburger patties. I've got some from this company, and then I've got some from Shelf to Table. So I just wanted to try them out. Let me see. Yes, and that's why I'm also putting out 1 video a day, usually about 4 days a week, of different ideas for menus. So and showing you what you can use in your stock or in your preparations to make that. And I'm always, when possible, I show a freeze-dried can underneath and then the canned version equivalent on top. So whichever way you want to go, whether it's be freeze-dried or whether it be canned goods, or whether it be dry goods, you can replicate that recipe if you want to. So that's my goal there. No, yes and no. So I store them in the buckets with an oxygen absorber, but I do not repackage them. They're still in their original packaging. I imagine that freeze drying them, putting in the oxygen absorber and putting them into the buckets, that it probably lasts 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know. I probably need to open one here soon and test one, but I don't think it's going to be that bad, to be honest with you. Okay. So these meatballs, the name of the company is Freeze Dry Wholesalers. Go to Canadian Prepper's video that he put out this afternoon, and it's a 15-minute video on freeze dry wholesalers. He has got a code, okay? And if you use that code, I think it's 15, it may be 30%. But he's got a discount code. Use that code. Use any discounts in every discount. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you, here's another good one. If you're looking at breakfast, okay? So this is Homestyle Scramble by Nutrient Survival. Okay, and it's up here. You always see it behind me in my videos. Oh, so let me put this down. You can see I've got the Homestyle Scramble, which is breakfast. So this is a Mountain Man breakfast without the meat. So I am going to add crumbled sausage from either Algerson Farms or Emergency Essentials or Thrive Life with this. That's going to be a great breakfast, and maybe even ground beef. Over here, I have the chocolate chip cookie meals, and up top, I have maple almond grain crunch, which is basically a cereal. So You can get fantastic foods from Nutrient Survival. What I like about them is that they are nutrient enhanced. So they add in, it's kind of like Tang. They're adding in all the minerals, vitamins, and everything else. Fantastic company. I love them. I love their milk. I love their shakes. Gosh, they even have nutrient enhanced coffee. And last year I focused on getting drinks from them, whether it be coffee or their nutrient enhanced drinks like orange drink or anything like that. I focused on getting one of those each month for all of last year. So great company. If you go to my website, I'll have a link. I'm an affiliate with them, so I'll have that link in the show notes as well. It's always there, but you just don't. I'll put it up top where you can see it. And right now they have a 30% off thing. So you use my link, go there. If you assemble your own bucket and put together like 5 different items into that and buy 5 items, they're going to give you 1/5 off. They also have another deal where you can, if you order, I believe it's $50 worth, you get a $35 sampler kit for free, which is basically 5 meals. And if you order, I think $100 worth, then you get free shipping. So I'm just great deals with Nutrient Survival. I really love the company. And I think they've got some great products as well. Like I said, I have so much of their products. I have a separate page for it on my inventory, my Excel inventory list. So Sumi's like I am. She's taken over 2 rooms. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement too, Hill Summit. There is no excuse for not being prepared. Yeah, I cannot get Keystone meats at all here in the greater Austin municipal area. I have to get them from Amazon. Can't find Algerson Farms here in the area on the shelves either. The only place I've seen anything was they had Wise Food, the 2-week emergency food storage kit. I showed you that a couple of weeks ago. That they could not sell it, so they reduced it down to 50%. I bought one. I'll probably give that away. But when you take a look at what you're getting, you're paying an awful lot for oatmeal and stuff like that. So I tend not to buy those kits that a 2-week supply, 2-month supply, 1-year supply. What they're hoping, if you do taste them, what they're hoping is that SHTF has happened and you won't be able to go to them and say, hey, give me my money back. This tastes like poop and it doesn't. Why are you counting whey milk? One glass of whey milk as a serving of food. So just my opinion. Oh wow, Devil Dog, I'm jealous. Yes, absolutely. And the other thing is I've been buying canned green beans. So I very seldom buy cases of things because I like to have one at a time when I do my purchases so that I keep the rotation so that I don't have to eat a whole case of something all of a sudden in 1 week or anything like that. So I try to do onesies. I do green beans by the case because I think I showed you the last week's Prepper Pantry haul. I have like to keep 4 of each of 2 different kinds of soft dog foods for the girls. I like to keep 4 20-pound bags of dog food for the girls. And then I also like to keep 1 case of green beans. So I can, I empty the water out of the green beans and then I give them to the girls. Speaking of water in cans, so let's talk about the difference between freeze-dried foods and canned goods, okay? Canned goods have the water in them. You don't have to rehydrate them, which is great. Freeze-dried foods, remember that if you're going to buy these, you've got to have a sufficient amount of water to rehydrate them. So you've got to increase your overall water purification and water storage capabilities. This is 40 servings, okay? This takes up far less room than 40 servings of this, okay? This is basically 4 servings, okay? So imagine 10 of these compared to 1 of these. So this is going to be bulkier. It's going to be heavier to store than this will. This is more expensive, okay, because of the processes that are involved. So you can get far more of this for the same price than you can of the freeze-dried. just what are your preferences? And somebody mentioned it earlier. I think it was, well, I'm not going to say, because I'd probably be wrong, that it all depends on what your particular needs are. No two of us are the same. No two of us are going to prep the same. No two of us are going to plan the same. No two of us have the same budget. No two of us have the same availability of things at our local markets. I'm just giving you ideas, okay? You have to determine what it is you want to do and how you're going to accomplish it. And I'm going to tell you, there's no wrong decision. Even those $19 or $30 kits is better than nothing if that's going to help you survive. No, the oldest of my Keystones right now is probably about 3 or 4 years old. So I have not yet tried anything over 3 or 4 years old. Let me see. Wow. Okay, let me see. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Got to have these. Got to have those. Nuts and peanut butter. Oh gosh, that's an area I didn't catch that I spilled water all over. Golly. So what happened was I took a swig of my water. There it is. Just before the show, I was trying to screw the cap of the water bottle back on, and spilled the water bottle all over everything. So it made a mess. But yeah, so we try to keep 4 of these in the house at one time too. So 4 of these, 2 cashews, 2 Spanish peanuts. And so that we like to keep those in. We get the 2 of the large Jif peanut butters, creamy. I prefer the chunky. Helen prefers the creamy. But we keep about 8 jars of peanut butter in the house at all times as well. So, those are another good preparedness item. Oh, wow. I'm just leaving sticky sugar water all over the place. This was one of my Christmas gifts from my wife. Ritter Sport German chocolate. And she also got me a big Toblerone, so that was good. Yes, nuts can go rancid. That's why we only have 4, because we probably eat a jar of nuts every 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I probably would not want to keep them longer than about 3, 4, 6 months maybe. But yes, they can go rancid. Freeze dry wholesale has, yes, because they feed the military. So they're going to have all kinds of fantastic stuff. They even have shrimp and lobster, believe it or not. I don't have a good researched answer for you. I will give you an assumed answer. Okay. And I would say that if you vacuum seal those, and that can be, with what they call Nomite bag and an oxygen absorber, and then seal that. That's probably going to be your longest term. You can also use a vacuum sealer, and you could do both. You could take out as much of the oxygen as possible and throw an oxygen absorber in there, keep them dry, but other than that, I don't have an answer. Maybe the aluminum canned. So I get the plastic jars, and then once I'm done with this, okay, you'll see a lot of times when I show you some of the stuff that I have, I save these jars because they're kind of airtight. So I will fill this up with macaroni or pasta or beans or things like that. So I reuse these jars. We'll wash them and reuse them. And I have a whole bookshelf full of nothing but those used nut jars that I have, primarily pasta and dry foods, and beans, legumes, lentils, things like that. And then I showed you my pump and seal. So basically what you can do is with the pump and seal, you put a small pinhole in here. It has a flap that you put over it, and then you put the pump and seal on it. It evacuates the air out of the container. And as you're sucking it out, the seal lifts up. Then when you release the pressure, it sucks itself back down and it seals it. So that all you have to do to break that seal is pull it open. then you can get into it. But I use that as a means of vacuum sealing all of my pastas and beans and legumes and things like that. Let me see. Yeah, I love corn. Unfortunately, corn is a very high carb content. Green beans we go through an awful lot of because we feed them to the girls, and that's one of the foods that we can eat that does not have. That's one of the vegetables that does not have a high carb content, and we have to be very conscious of our carbs. Wow, and I'm sure we're talking about Keystone, probably. Let me see, because we're at an hour and 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, we're way over. I'm sorry that I've kept you all so long. Yes, and I agree, Sumi. So peanut butter jams, um, just Tabasco, soy sauce, wash my sister sauce, all those different kinds of things are great to have. You're going to want something that's going to be a reward, sweet, salty, whatever. Give yourself some good things. We store a lot of cocoa because Helen makes with cocoa and peanut butter and milk. She can make fudge. So that's probably going to be one of the sweets we're going to be enjoying in a post-apocalyptic world when she makes that. Peanuts and Karo syrup, and she makes peanut patties. So, you're probably going to have to make most of your own candy. So make sure you get cocoa or chocolate or whatever you want to use for that. Now, I buy boxes of white cake, okay, and pineapples. And so then you can I don't take it out of the box, just vacuum seal it in the box, because with powders, you can really gum up the works in your vacuum sealer. So I try to leave them in the box. I vacuum seal it in the box, in the vacuum seal or in the bag. And but then that way we can make pineapple upside down cakes or dump cake, if you will, in the Dutch oven. So, put some pineapple rings and cherries down on the bottom. So yeah, get yourself some jars of olives, pickles, cherries, cans of pineapples. Get all that stuff, so you can have some diversity in what you're eating and give yourself some rewards. Let me see. Let me get down to the bottom here because golly, hard candies are fantastic. And so I have Jolly Rancher and I have Lifesavers, a whole 5-gallon bucket of those. So yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, you dehydrate your own beef jerky, absolutely. And biltong. Biltong is a South African version of beef jerky, and that's fantastic as well. Hoosier Hill. I meant to mention that. So yes, I do Hoosier Hill. They do have fantastic sour cream, heavy cream, butter, and yes, fantastic company. I strongly recommend them. They are fantastic. Okay, so that's where we are. I think that's enough for one night. What do you think? Was this worth going a little bit overtime on tonight? Hopefully, I did not waste your time. I've given you some ideas. I do want you to please understand that to have a 1-year supply or a 2-year supply of foods, you've got to think this through the long term, because as your supply of canned and freeze-dried foods dwindles, you're going to have to make up for that with something else. So make sure you have seeds, make sure you have soil that you can amend, make sure you have fertilizer, equipment to do gardening, make sure you've practiced your gardening skills, you're learning how to garden, make sure you get some books on animal husbandry so that maybe you can raise some chickens, some ducks, some rabbits, some goats, quail, somebody mentioned earlier, and dove. So there's all kinds of things that you can raise as far as animals in a post-apocalyptic world that I think are going to be very beneficial to you. But remember, You want to have that constant value of calories as an intake. So as these diminish over time, they've got to be supplemented or replaced by other things, and until we get the society back to normalcy. Okay. Wow, what a night. Thanks for being here, everybody. I really do appreciate you. We'll close with numbers. Let's review. I want to revisit those two Einstein quotes. Number one, remember that the only thing worse than ignorance is arrogance. Please don't ever let me be arrogant. Number two, don't listen to the person who has all the answers. Listen to the person who has the questions. And so you guys are great. You ask great questions. You have great answers. I think we do an awful lot of sharing among and within ourselves. Thank you for being so kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because I think that's what we absolutely need. Let me get to Numbers, verse 6, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. Now, don't forget, I'm trying to put out 4 or 5 recipes a week. So what I'm doing is I'm showing you the freeze-dried and or canned goods that I'm going to use to make those recipes. Then there will be a link in the description of somebody cooking that recipe with actual, store-bought stuff. So we're going to give you some ideas on things you can do just for variety of eating. So in the meantime, please remember that we're all in this together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, as you always are. Thank God we get rid of the trolls. And we're all going to come through this together. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Have a safe week. And remember to keep prepping. Bye-bye.